Deep in the endless stretch of space, Captain Ryland drifted alone in his small exploration ship, scanning the stars for anything unusual. He had traveled many light years from the nearest colony, and silence surrounded him, thick and heavy, making even the faintest sound feel strange. Ryland's eyes flicked to the monitor as a new signal appeared. It was faint and irregular. Unlike the normal background noise of the cosmos, the signal was repeating a pattern that almost looked like a call for help. Curiosity sparked in his mind, but caution warned him to stay back. He tapped the controls, trying to trace the source. The signal pointed toward a remote sector that was known to be empty for decades. An old space chart showed only debris fields and abandoned mining stations. Nothing that should still be active, yet the signal pulsed again. Stronger this time, almost pleading. Ryland adjusted his course, his heart beating faster. The sensors on his ship showed no other life forms. Yet the signal continued, almost like it knew he was listening. He whispered to himself, "What is out there?" As he approached the coordinates, the stars around him seemed to shift. The space was darker here, almost blacker than normal, and small flashes of light flickered far in the distance, like distant storms in space. His ship's lights reflected off tiny pieces of floating debris, making shadows dance in the cockpit. The closer he got, the more he realized the ship was not alone. Something large floated silently ahead, partially hidden in the darkness. It was a derelict spacecraft, broken and battered, its hull scratched and scarred from countless collisions with asteroids, panels missing, exposing its inner systems, and lights flickering weakly. Ryland's mind raced. How has this ship survived out here for so long, he wondered. He carefully scanned the surface, looking for any signs of life. The sensors were strange, mostly dead readings, but there were faint heat signatures, almost too small to detect, yet clearly something was inside. Despite a deep sense of danger, Ryland's curiosity could not be stopped. He suited up and prepared to board the ship, every movement deliberate, as if he was stepping into a grave. His fingers brushed the cold metal of the airlock, and he felt a shiver run down his spine. The signal still pulsing, almost louder now, as if welcoming him. Once inside, the corridors were dark and silent. A faint hum of machinery echoed somewhere far away, and the walls were lined with strange symbols that Ryland had never seen before. The symbols glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with the signal, as if the ship itself was alive. Ryland's flashlight swept across the room, revealing debris scattered across the floor, broken panels, and a strange sticky residue that smelled faintly metallic. The atmosphere inside was heavy, almost suffocating, but breathable. He moved slowly, every creak of the ship sounding like a gunshot in the quiet. At the far end of the corridor, a large chamber door stood sealed. The signal was strongest here, vibrating through the floor and walls. Ryland placed his hand on the door, feeling the hum of energy beneath. It was unlike anything he had ever felt, a mixture of fear and excitement filling him. He activated the airlock mechanism, and the door slowly hissed open, revealing a dark interior beyond. The signal pulsed faster now, almost frantically, and small sparks of light danced along the walls. It was as if the ship was alive, waiting for him to step inside. Ryland swallowed hard, stepping into the chamber. The air was colder here, and a strange mist hovered a few inches above the floor, glowing faintly under his flashlight. His eyes scanned the room, but he saw nothing at first. Only broken chairs, scattered tools, and the remains of old machines. Then, he noticed something unusual, something hanging in the center of the room, suspended by unknown wires or energy beams. Ryland's breath caught, and his hands trembled. The shapes were humanoid, but not human. A voice inside his head whispered, "Is this real?" The signal had led him here, to this place, to these beings, and yet, their presence was eerie, silent, and almost sacred. Ryland stepped closer, trying to understand what he had found, his heart pounding. The chamber seemed endless, shadows moving in corners that his light could not reach, and the signal pulsed again, almost impatiently, guiding him deeper into the mystery. Ryland knew he had discovered something extraordinary, something dangerous, something that could change everything he knew about space, and yet, he could not turn back. The pull of the unknown was too strong, and the mystery of the signal demanded answers. Ryland took a deep breath and moved further into the derelict ship, unaware that with every step, the secrets of the chamber and the 7 suspended beings were awakening, waiting for the moment to reveal themselves. The chamber beyond the door was darker than Ryland expected. A thick, heavy darkness that seemed to swallow his flashlight's glow. The strange mist hovered closer now, swirling as if it had a mind of its own. Brushing against his suit, cold and electric, he moved slowly, every step echoing loudly in the empty room. The walls were covered with more alien symbols, glowing faintly and pulsing in rhythm with the signal. Almost like a heartbeat, Rylan reached out, touching the nearest symbol, and a shiver ran down his spine. Suddenly, a low hum began, vibrating through the floor, and the symbols flickered faster, sending waves of light across the chamber. It was as if the ship was alive, observing him, waiting for something. Rylan swallowed hard, his curiosity battling with fear. At the center of the room, the 7 suspended forms came into view more clearly, hanging silently in strange harnesses or energy fields. Their bodies were humanoid, but their skin shimmered like liquid silver, faint light tracing the edges of their limbs. Some of them had long, delicate fingers. Others had elongated heads with glowing eyes. Rylan's heart raced. Unsure whether to approach or retreat, he noticed a control panel on the wall, flickering weakly, and walked toward it, hoping it might explain what had happened. The panel was covered in alien writing, incomprehensible, but some icons resembled life signs and energy readings. As he reached to touch it, one of the suspended figures moved slightly, its eyes opening slowly, revealing glowing orbs that seemed to pierce through his mind. Rylan stumbled back, fear gripping him. The signal pulsed louder now, almost like a warning, echoing in his ears. The room itself seemed to shift, walls bending subtly, and shadows stretched unnaturally along the floor. Rylan realized the ship was not just broken, it was alive in a way he could not understand, reacting to his presence, testing him. He remembered the stories of lost ships in deep space, haunted by systems that refused to die, or worse, controlled by alien intelligence, long forgotten. But this was different. The pulse of the signal, the glow of the symbols, the very air itself, all felt intelligent, almost sentient. Rylan stepped closer to the figures again, despite his fear, noticing small details. The girls or beings were not completely unconscious. Slight twitches of fingers, blinking eyes, faint breathing. The harnesses or energy beams holding them shimmered with power, reacting to his presence. He reached out, placing a hand near one of the glowing orbs, and the signal surged violently, sending a wave of heat and energy through the chamber. Knocking him back, his suit alarms blared, lights flickered, and for a moment, everything went silent. Then, a voice, soft but clear, echoed in his mind, almost like it came from the ship itself. "Do not touch." Yet Rylan froze, heart pounding, unsure if he had imagined it. The signal pulsed again, guiding him toward a smaller side corridor that had been hidden in shadows. He knew instinctively that he had to follow. The corridor was narrower, walls covered in more strange symbols, the mist growing thicker, swirling around his legs, almost alive. As he walked, he glimpsed shadows moving just out of reach, strange silhouettes dancing along the walls, teasing his imagination. At the end of the corridor, a heavy blast door blocked the way, covered in alien markings unlike anything he had seen before. Rylan placed his hand on the surface, feeling the hum of energy beneath. It was warmer here, pulsing stronger, almost as if the ship itself wanted him to pass. He activated the panel, and the door slid open slowly with a hiss, revealing another chamber, even darker, filled with strange floating machinery, tubes of glowing liquid, and flickering lights that made shadows move like living creatures. The air felt thick, almost electric, and the signal was strongest here, vibrating through everything. Rylan stepped inside carefully, senses heightened, knowing that whatever waited in this room could change everything he thought he knew about space, about life, about the derelict ship. He looked back once, noticing the 7 suspended beings glowing faintly behind him, and a chill ran down his spine. Somewhere deep inside, he realized this was only the beginning. The ship had more secrets, more dangers, and more answers than he could imagine. And yet, he could not stop now. Curiosity and duty driving him forward, toward the heart of the unknown. The air in the new chamber was thick and cold, humming with strange energy. Rylan's boots barely made a sound as he stepped inside. His eyes widened at what he saw. The room filled with floating pods, glowing softly in shades of blue and green, and inside each, a humanoid figure suspended. Completely still, he stepped closer to the nearest pod, his heart pounding, and gasped, recognizing features that were both human-like and alien. The skin shimmered like liquid silver, hair flowing in zero gravity, eyes closed as if in deep sleep, and small pulses of light ran across their bodies. Connected to the ship by delicate energy threads, Ryland's mind raced. 7. There are 7 of them, he whispered, realizing that these were the same forms he had glimpsed earlier, now visible in their full, suspended glory. The pods seemed to respond to his presence, glowing brighter as he approached, almost as if acknowledging him. Suddenly, one pod hissed softly, releasing a faint mist that swirled around the chamber. Ryland recoiled, and the figures inside twitched, opening their eyes slowly, revealing glowing irises that seemed to pierce through his mind, sharp yet filled with fear, curiosity, and something unspoken. The signal he had followed for days pulsed violently now, vibrating through the chamber, the pods, even through his suit, and Ryland felt a strange connection, as if the ship itself was alive and communicating through him, telling him to watch, to listen, to understand. One of the girls, the tallest of the 7, slowly moved her fingers, reaching out toward him, not touching, but creating a faint ripple in the air. The other 6 followed subtly, some twitching, some opening their eyes fully, each showing a unique glow, a unique emotion, as if they had individual consciousness. Ryland realized they were not just passengers, they were alive, thinking and aware. The thought sent a shiver down his spine, and yet he could not stop staring, curiosity battling fear. He needed to understand what had happened here, why these beings were suspended, and why the ship had chosen him. A holographic panel nearby flickered to life, displaying fragmented images of past events, flashes of battles in space, alien ships exploding, humans and aliens in conflict, and then sudden silence. The logs were incomplete, but it was clear the ship had witnessed horrors, and these 7 beings were somehow tied to it. Survivors or prisoners, it was impossible to tell. Ryland's hand hovered over the controls, unsure if touching anything would awaken them fully, or trigger a defense system. A sudden alarm echoed softly, not loud, but deep, vibrating through the walls. The signal surged again, faster now, almost impatiently, guiding him toward the back of the chamber, toward a smaller, sealed doorway. The 7 figures stirred more, some leaning slightly, others floating toward him, their expressions still calm, but their eyes bright, intelligent, and filled with unspoken questions. Ryland took a deep breath, knowing that one wrong move could be dangerous, but his curiosity would not let him stop. As he moved toward the doorway, one of the pods suddenly opened, releasing a soft, glowing mist, and a figure floated toward him, unsteady but alive. Ryland instinctively reached out, and the moment their fingers almost touched, the chamber lights flickered, the ship groaned, and he felt a jolt run through him. The girl's eyes met his, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. He could sense her thoughts, fear mixed with a plea for help, and something else warning him, warning that danger was near, not outside, but inside the ship itself. Ryland staggered back, realizing the truth. The ship was not just derelict, it was alive, and the 7 beings were part of its system, its memory, its warning. The signal had brought him here, but it was no accident. He had crossed into something far beyond normal space travel, beyond simple exploration. The chamber trembled slightly, lights flickering violently, and a low, almost mechanical voice echoed, repeating a single word over and over: protect, protect, protect. Ryland's heart raced, understanding that these girls were both a key and a danger, alive and yet tied to the ship's will. He took a deep breath, steeling himself, and stepped past the floating pods, toward the sealed doorway, knowing that what waited beyond could either answer everything or destroy him. And behind him, the 7 figures hovered, watching, alive, waiting, and somehow guiding him. Ryland realized that this was no longer just a mission, it was a journey into the unknown heart of a living ship, with 7 alien girls who held secrets the galaxy had never seen. And yet, he could not turn back, curiosity and duty pulling him forward, deeper into mystery, danger, and revelation. Ryland stepped cautiously through the narrow doorway, leaving the glowing pods behind. The corridor ahead twisted strangely, as if the ship itself had rearranged itself, walls bending in impossible angles, lights flickering in rhythm with the strange signal. The 7 alien girls followed silently, floating in the mist behind him, their eyes glowing softly, watching every move. At the end of the corridor, a massive chamber opened. Unlike anything Ryland had seen, the ceiling stretched far above, covered with strange crystalline structures that pulsed with energy, casting shimmering light across the walls, and in the center, a holographic projection flickered to life, displaying stars, planets, and symbols Ryland could barely comprehend. As he approached, fragments of recordings played in the air, like echoes of past events, battles between alien fleets, ships exploding, strange creatures crawling across planets, and humans caught in the chaos. The holograms shifted, showing the same 7 girls, floating in different places, sometimes in stasis pods, sometimes surrounded by glowing energy. Ryland realized the shocking truth: the girls were not just passengers or prisoners. They were part of the ship's system, living memory banks, holding the knowledge and experiences of countless worlds. They were alive, yes, but they carried histories, secrets, and power beyond anything humanity had ever known. He walked closer, reaching out to touch one of the holographic images, and suddenly the room vibrated. The ship groaned, shadows twisted across the walls, and the signal pulsed violently, as if warning him not to go further. But Ryland's curiosity would not let him stop. He needed to know, needed to understand. A soft voice echoed through the chamber, not through speakers, but inside his mind. "We remember, we protect, we wait." It came from the girls, Ryland realized, their consciousnesses connected to the ship, guiding him, teaching him, warning him. The signal had not been a call for help, it had been an invitation, a test. Ryland's eyes scanned the chamber and saw compartments along the walls, filled with alien technology, some still functional, some dormant, tools that could manipulate gravity, weapons that could cut through devices that seemed to bend time itself. The 7 girls hovered near the devices, their fingers brushing lightly against some of them, activating strange energy fields. He understood then that the ship was a fortress, a vault, and the girls were its guardians, holding power and knowledge that could change the balance of the galaxy. And yet, the logs showed a warning, images of other explorers who had failed, drawn in by curiosity, but never leaving alive. Ryland felt a chill, realizing how fragile his position was. One wrong move could trigger defenses, awaken dangers, or harm the girls. He had to be careful, respectful, and clever, if he wanted to survive and uncover the secrets fully. Then, the holographic images shifted again, showing a star system under siege, planets burning, ships destroyed, and one planet glowing faintly, untouched. Protected by a mysterious force, the 7 girls hovered closer, their glowing eyes fixed on the images, and one of them reached out, pointing toward the star system, almost urging Ryland to pay attention. Ryland's mind raced, understanding that the ship had been traveling, collecting knowledge, hiding these girls and their power, protecting them from something enormous, something deadly. And now the time had come for him to play a role in the story. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the chamber, and lights flickered violently, shadows stretching unnaturally across the walls. The ship's energy shifted, and Ryland realized that the presence he had felt before the hidden threat inside the ship was awakening. Moving closer, waiting for a chance to strike, he turned to the girls, who floated silently, glowing brighter eyes fixed on him, and knew he had to act. The secrets of the ship were here, within reach, but danger was closer than he had imagined, and every moment counted. Ryland took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead, knowing that the next steps would determine not just his survival, but the fate of the 7 alien girls, the derelict ship, and possibly much more than he could imagine. The chamber pulsed with energy, shadows moved, the girls glowed, and the ship seemed to watch him, testing him, waiting. And for the first time, Ryland understood that he was no longer an explorer. He had become part of the ship, part of its secrets, part of its story. And far in the distance, deep within the ship's core, something stirred, ancient and alive, waiting for the moment to make its presence known. The chamber trembled violently, the strange hum of the ship rising to a deafening pitch. Ryland's heart pounded as he realized the hidden threat inside the ship had finally awakened. Shadows stretched and twisted across the walls, moving like living creatures, and the 7 alien girls hovered closer, glowing brighter, their energy rippling through the air. Ryland knew he had little time. The ship's corridors began shifting, twisting, doors slamming shut, as if the vessel itself was trying to trap him. He grabbed the nearest control panel, tapping frantically, searching for a way to stabilize the ship. The girls reached out with glowing hands, energy flowing from them to the panel, helping him override the failing systems. Suddenly, a massive shadow emerged from the depths of the ship, a creature of darkness and light, its form shifting constantly, impossible to comprehend fully. It moved with purpose, its presence pressing against Ryland's mind, trying to overwhelm him, yet he stood firm, guided by the silent communication from the 7 girls. Ryland realized that escaping would not be simple. The ship itself was alive, protecting the girls, resisting the dark presence, and he was caught in the middle, but he had to act quickly, or none of them would survive. He activated the main energy conduit, a glowing path of power flowing through the ship, and the girls hovered along its lines, amplifying the energy, pulsing in unison. The shadow roared mentally, a sound that shook the chamber, and surged toward them, trying to break the conduit. But Ryland pushed forward, following the signal, leading them toward the main airlock. Every step was tense, every second critical, as the ship groaned and twisted, corridors stretching unnaturally, as if testing his resolve. One of the girls suddenly touched his shoulder, and a surge of energy flowed through him, granting clarity. The path forward shimmered with a faint golden glow, revealing hidden doors and shortcuts the ship had been holding back. Ryland realized the girls were not just passengers, they were guides, protectors, and keys to surviving the ship's living defenses. They reached the main airlock, but the massive shadow was closing in, its form now clearer, like a storm of darkness, with glowing red eyes, reaching out with tendrils that could crush metal and mind alike. Ryland's hands flew over the controls, initiating the airlock sequence. The 7 girls linked their hands, creating a shield of energy that pushed back the shadow, the force of their power vibrating through the air. Ryland felt the ship respond, corridors snapping back into place, systems stabilizing just enough for escape. The airlock hissed open, and the cold vacuum of space appeared, stars stretching infinitely ahead. The 7 girls floated ahead of him, their glow brighter than ever, and Ryland pushed the ship forward, engines roaring. Escaping the collapsing chamber behind them, the shadow recoiled, letting them go, but not without a warning. A deep, rumbling message felt in their minds: "We will meet again." Ryland's ship emerged from the derelict vessel into open space, the 7 girls suspended safely within their forms glowing against the dark backdrop of stars. He took a deep breath, feeling both relief and awe, realizing the ship's secrets had changed everything he knew about the galaxy, and about himself. Yet, even in the silence of space, the signal pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat, reminding him that the ship, the girls, and the dark force were far from done. Ryland looked at the girls, who met his gaze, a silent understanding passing between them, that their journey had only just begun. As the stars stretched endlessly ahead, a distant flicker of light appeared, unlike any star, moving fast toward them, and the girls tensed, the glow of their eyes brighter, warning him of something approaching, something massive, alive, and intelligent. The adventure was far from over, and the galaxy held more secrets than he could ever imagine. Ryland tightened his grip on the controls, preparing for what was coming next, knowing that the derelict ship and the 7 alien girls had thrown him into a story far larger than himself, a story of power, survival, and mysteries that spanned the stars. And with a final pulse of the ship's energy, the 7 girls hovered beside him, ready to face whatever the universe would send. And somewhere, deep in the dark void of space, the shadow stirred once more, waiting, watching, plotting its return. Asterisk.